Truth in History with Charles A. Jennings.
One of the questions that has been asked so many times, and a problem that some people have discussed over and over, and that is, where did Cain get his wife? Did he marry his sister? Did Cain marry a woman from a pre-adamic creation? Why did he leave the Garden of Eden? And why did he say that every man's going to try to kill me when there was only Adam and Eve left on the earth? These are some questions that we're going to try to answer today. And it's one of the most difficult, but we're going to dive into it here and see if we can answer it. Now, if you like what I'm saying, thumbs up. If you dislike, hit thumbs down. Also, subscribe to our channel, because I think we have a lot of good things to offer, and I think you'll be blessed. And also our website, truthinhistory.org. So, where did Cain get his wife? This question, I think, is asked, but yet never delved into. Never really, put the old thinking cap on and try to solve this problem. And I think it's avoided for one or more of the five following reasons. The minister, number one, the minister or the teacher is ignorant of the subject due to lack of study. Now, Paul told Timothy, study to show yourself approved, rightly dividing the word of God. Number two, fear of being embarrassed because of lack of knowledge. The teacher just avoids it. Don't want to go there. Number three, a feeling that the subject has racial overtones or ethnic overtones, and afraid of offending somebody. Number four, fear of argumentation with a disagreeable party. Just have an all-out fight over this, and maybe fall out with one another, or people leave the church or whatever. And number five, a desire to remain religiously and politically correct. In other words, I really don't want to talk about the subject. I think it's best left alone, because right now we're friends and I'm in good shape as the minister of the church or the Sunday school teacher. And right now, let's just keep the peace and skip over that. But, there's some things in the Bible that you have to search out. You have to ferret out, like genealogy. And, there's different ologies, the study of different subjects in the Bible. One of them is theology, and the other one is anthropology, and there's others. But the study of God and the study of man. Where did man come from? Where did Cain get his wife? And we're going to try to talk about this. Now, to many Christian people, the story of Cain in the book of Genesis just has incomplete facts. So therefore, it is insufficient to come to a thorough understanding. But yet, the subject remains one of frequent inquiry on the surface only. Now, there are two well-worn yet mistaken ideas that stand as roadblocks to the understanding of this subject. Number one, that Adam and Eve were the very first people on the planet. Just two people, Adam, Eve, everybody else came from them. All the different races, ethnicities, everything. The second roadblock is that Cain married his sister. These are two, what I believe, oversimplified ideas that has served as excuses for misinformed clergy and Christians. But yet the question remains, where did Cain get his wife? Now, the biblical account is found in Genesis chapter 4. And it's a rather long account, but I'm going to read it and comment in between the text. Genesis 4:9, and the Lord said to Cain, where is your brother? Now, Cain had already killed his brother Abel. And he answered, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? Because the voice of thy brother's blood cries to me from the ground, and thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Now, when Cain was cursed from the earth, does it mean he was cursed from the planet? The whole planet? Or was he cursed from where he was living? That was the Garden of Eden. And then the Lord put a curse on him. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield fruit unto thee in her strength. And then he said, a fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. Cain's answer to God was, my punishment is greater than I can bear, because you have driven me out this day from the face of the earth, from where I was born and raised, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And then he adds this, that everyone that finds me is going to slay me. Now that's impossible. So we know that the King James is good. I'm not casting off on the King James Version. But what it means is that everybody that finds me is going to hate me, is going to try to slay me, attempt to slay me. And the Lord said unto Cain, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, or tries or attempts to slay Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain. What was that mark? Lest any man finding him shall slay him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch and built a city and gave that city a name. Now, in the biblical account, there's only 4 people on the planet at one time in the Garden of Eden. Only 4 people in the Garden of Eden, other people on the outside, but 4 family members in the Garden of Eden: Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. Cain kills his brother. He's driven out from the face of the earth. Now, some people say, well, Cain married his sister, but further children of Cain and Abel, are not born until later. They are born later on. So, and that would be Seth. So Seth is out of the picture because he's not born yet. So now there's only 3 people in the Garden of Eden: Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel was dead. So he could not have married his sister. And God cursed him and ran him out of the garden. He said his punishment was greater than he could bear. He was driven out of the land of his nativity. He lost the protective covering of God. And in losing the protective covering of God, he was made susceptible to every man attempting to kill him and his offspring, because he had offspring. His destiny was to live a life of a fugitive and a vagabond. Now, a fugitive is one who is running from justice. And a vagabond, he would be dwelling or moving or migrating as strangers in the earth. So you've got fugitive, he's running from justice. Vagabond, he's a stranger. Nomadic, traveling from country to country. That would not only include Cain himself, but it would be referring to his offspring. Now, as I mentioned before, with Abel being dead, Cain being banished, Adam and Eve would be considered childless. And then the birth of their next son, Seth, is not mentioned until Genesis chapter 4 and verse number 25. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son and called his name Seth, which means substitute. So now they have a son after the fact, when God cursed Cain and sent him out of the garden. So if Seth was the son that fulfilled the law of inheritance that applied to the eldest son, well, Cain was born first, but he lost his birthright, and when he was banished. So Seth was the substitute, and from Seth came the generations of Adam. Now, Cain's fear of being slain by everyone existed before the birth of Seth. So that means there had to be other people on the earth. What was the mark? I've heard all kinds of things. Possibly you have too. And if you would like to give me some ideas on these, on the things that you have heard, I welcome those ideas. Some said he had a big nose. Some said God changed the color of his skin. Others said he had some kind of marking on his body of some sort, the mark of Cain. Personally, I think that the mark of Cain was an evil mentality, the inclination to do evil. He was a liar and he was a murderer. And that stemmed from the religiously philosophical nature of the serpent man. And I'm not saying that Cain was the physical offspring of that serpent man. I'm not saying that at all. Because Genesis 4:1 says that that Adam knew his wife and she bare Cain. And then Cain traveled east to the land of Nod. He married a wife. He knew his wife in Genesis chapter 4. And he knew his wife, and he dwelt in the land of Nod, east of Eden, and she conceived and bare a son, Enoch, and they built a city. And in that city was the first polygamist. You see, the inclination to do wrong. Now, Cain, being of the seed of Adam and Eve, he knew how to build something. Number two, he had skills in farming. We know that because of the offering that he brought to the Lord. That was unacceptable. So he had skills in farming, and he no doubt was extremely influential in leadership ability and teaching these other people, these pre-Adamic people, farming, how to build, etc. And the word Nod, I shouldn't forget to bring this out, means wandering, according to Strong's Concordance 51:12 and 51:13. So the people before Cain arrived in Nod, the people no doubt were nomadic in their lifestyle. Nomads, they were gatherers of fruits and berries and whatever grew wild, maybe hunters and fishermen. So that's my take on where Cain got his wife. It was either he married his sister, of which there were no sisters to marry until he had been banished out of the land. And Seth was the first child, actually the third child, but he was the first after this murderous incident took place. So in other words, Seth and his children came later, and the children of Adam and Eve came after Seth. So Cain was long gone to the east. So I think that's the logical conclusion and answer to where did Cain get his wife. You can hit thumbs up, thumbs down. You can give me comments. I welcome comments. There's something, am I missing? Because we're all in this together as Christians, trying to delve into this Word and into this Bible that we call the Book of Life. And we want to know, we want to study theology, but we want to also study anthropology, the study of man. So subscribe to our channel and check us out on truthandhistory.org. Until next time, God bless you.
We thank you, and may God bless you for your response to this end time ministry. Truth in History, where the Word of God is not bound.